Right. Right. Hi. All right. Welcome everybody. So today we have Laura from the Elephant Sanctuary. She's the education manager. All right. You can take it away whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Hello, everybody. My name is Laura, and I am the education manager at the Elephant Sanctuary, like she just said. And today we're going to talk a lot about elephants. And during that time, if you guys have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A and the chat box, and I would love to answer any of those questions. I'll probably wait for most of them till the end of the program, and but we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to share my screen with you, talk to you a little bit about the sanctuary itself. Here at the Elephant Sanctuary, we focus on a few things for our elephants. The first thing is home. We want to create a home for our elephants that they are comfortable and they can have a place to spend their lives. We want to create a herd so our elephants are given the opportunity to be social and spend the time with other elephants. We want to give them rest and refuge. Most of our elephants come from circuses or zoos or some sort of exhibition. So when they come here, we actually say that they're retired elephants because they did have to work in their lives and they don't have to work anymore. So they just get to be elephants. And last but not least, we focus on individualized care for life. Just like every student, just like you all, is different and you have different needs. All of our elephants have different needs. And so we want to focus on each individual elephant as just that, an individual. As we're talking today, I want to start by talking about our mission. Our mission is two parts. The first part of that is that we provide captive elephants with individualized care, the companionship of a herd, and the opportunity to live out their lives in a safe haven dedicated to their well being. Really, that's what I just was talking about. All of those aspects of the sanctuary is very nicely put in that sentence there. But there's a second part of that mission that is education, and to educate the public on the complex needs of elephants and the crisis facing elephants in the world. So while we're talking today, you guys actually are a part of our mission because education and educating is a very important part of that. Now, about the sanctuary, we're founded in 1995, and the Elephant Sanctuary is the nation's largest natural habitat refuge, developed specifically for the needs of Asian and African elephants. We operate on 3,000 acres in Hohenwald, Tennessee, and we're about 85 miles southwest of Nashville. So I know for myself, it's hard to comprehend. What does 3,000 acres actually look like? Well, if any of you have ever seen a soccer field or a football field, a soccer field is just over 1 acre. So if you put about 2,000 soccer fields and you line them up and you squeeze them together into a space, that is how large the sanctuary is. And it's home to 9 elephants that are able to use those 3,000 acres to walk and roam and just be elephants. But we're also an accredited sanctuary, and we have a habitat where the elephants are not open to the public. So if you guys all decided today from different parts of the country and world to come see an elephant, you guys couldn't see any of our elephants because we are closed to the public. Our elephants are retired and they get to live their lives without any people or visitors or guests. The only people that they see on a day-to-day basis are their care staff or the people that take care of them. While we're talking about elephants, let's talk about elephants as a whole. There are 3 species of elephants in the world. The first one is the Asian elephant. That's that green color on your screen. Asian elephants are found throughout Asia. They're found in Myanmar, in Thailand, in Sri Lanka. But the largest population of Asian elephants is actually found in India. So if you look on the map at that Indian peninsula, those little green dots is actually where the largest population of Asian elephants lives. The second species is the African savanna elephant. That's that creamish white color on your screen. The African savanna elephants are the largest species, so they're the biggest, but they also have the largest geographic region. And what that means is that they're found in the most amount of space of the different species, which is why that green color is the one that is the biggest on the map. The third species of elephant is the African forest elephant. And the African forest elephant is really unique because that is the only species of elephant that we do not have here at Sanctuary. We have Asian elephants, we have African savanna elephants, but we have no African forest elephants. And the reason for that is because they were never brought into human care. They were never brought into captivity. And the only place in the world that you can find an African forest elephant is in Africa. So if you look at that orangish red color on your screen, that is actually where the largest, the only place in the world you can find that African forest elephant is. When we're looking at pictures of these three species, they do all look different. So that largest species, like I said, is that African savanna elephant. While the smaller elephant is going to be the African forest elephant, and that Asian elephant is right in the middle for size. Now I'm talking about African forest elephants and Asian elephants being smaller, but really, they're still really large elephants. They are still really big. Asian elephants can get upwards to 10 plus feet tall, and African forest elephants are about 8 to 10 feet tall. So these are still really large animals, even though they are smaller than the African savanna elephant. Some of the other differences between these elephants is going to start with their ears. If you look at these three pictures on your screen, they're going to have these large round ears that are large, round, and flat. While Asian elephants are going to have much smaller ears. Those ears actually have a fold along the top of them. If you guys are ever at a zoo or you're looking at a picture of an elephant, the best way to tell the difference, to determine which one you're looking at, is going to be by looking at those ears. The last difference we're going to talk about today is going to be their tusks. So with elephants, all African elephants, both the savanna and the forest, grow tusks. They both grow tusks, both the boys and the girls do. But with Asian elephants, Asian boy elephants do have the opportunity to grow tusks, but female Asian elephants don't. They have these little small things that are called tushes, but the tusks themselves is not what the Asian females have. So that is another way to tell the difference between these elephants. Now, I've gotten a lot of questions and I'm looking at them all and I'm trying to make sure I have a chance to answer them. And most of these I will answer at the end of the program or throughout the program. But somebody asked a great question. They said, why are elephants' ears so big? Well, elephants live in environments that are really warm. So African countries and parts of Asia where it's really hot. And elephants actually use their ears to cool themselves down. So their blood flows through their ears, and they flap them backwards and forwards. That flapping motion actually creates like a breeze or wind on those ears. It cools the blood down that's flowing through their ears. That blood will then recirculate through their body and it will actually cool their entire body temperature down. So elephants, those ears are actually going to be a way for them to cool themselves down. That was a great question, but I am looking at those. So if you guys are asking them, those are great questions. Now, when we're talking about elephants, it's really important to talk about social structure. I talk about social structure because elephants are a herd animal. In the wild, they will spend most of their lives in herds. These herds are primarily made up of females. So an elephant calf is going to be born and she's going to be raised by her mom, her aunties, her grandma. The matriarch is going to be that oldest and wisest female of the group. Boy elephants, they stay in those groups until they're in their teens, and then they're actually pushed out. And they go and make other elephant groups. Sometimes these are called bachelor groups. Sometimes these elephants are more independent. They don't spend as much time with other elephants. So males are a little bit less social than females are. But those female elephants and those herds that are raising these elephants is super important because those matriarchs and those females are teaching these elephants how to be elephants. They're teaching them how to be social, how to communicate, how to use their trunks. These are all behaviors that they're being taught as they are being raised by other elephants. So elephants, when they are taken from the wild at a really young age, they're not raised with other elephants. They're raised more by people. So they're not trained and they're not taught how to be an elephant from an adult. So they have different behaviors than their wild counterparts sometimes, even though they still have those natural instincts. So with our elephants, I'm actually going to tell you the story about one of them. Her name is Flora. Flora was an orphaned elephant in Zimbabwe in 1982. And she was brought to the United States after she was orphaned, and she was purchased by a gentleman named David Balding. Mr. Balding had a circus called Circus Flora that he based completely around her. She was in circuses, she was in show business and in movies and in all sorts of different things. And when elephants are trained to do behaviors, like in circuses or in show business, they're usually trained in a process that is going to include dominance and punishment. So it's a very negative process that is training an elephant can be really aggressive. We call it negative reinforcement a lot because there's a lot of in trouble and punishment. And sometimes a lot of these elephants have abuse. Flora was cared for. Mr. Balding really did have a sweet spot in his heart for her. And he realized as she was becoming an adult elephant that she didn't enjoy circus life anymore. She wasn't enjoying show business. So he actually decided he wanted to take her back to the wild. But an elephant that's raised by people, we just talked about, doesn't have that same social behaviors as a wild elephant. So really, that was not a plausible idea. So instead, he took her to Zoo Miami in Miami, Florida. And during that time, she was there. She spent some time with other elephants, but that also wasn't the best fit for her. So he actually fell upon and found the sanctuary. And in March of 2004, Flora joined the sanctuary. Her entire journey from circus life to sanctuary is put into a movie, One Lucky Elephant. And Flora, she's 39 years old today, and she's still here at the sanctuary. I know somebody said, is she still alive? Yes. She actually celebrates her 40th birthday here in the next couple of weeks. So we're very excited to celebrate that big birthday with Flora. But her story is amazing. She had somebody that cared about her and wanted her to thrive. But really, not all elephants have that story. We talked about the abuse and the dominance that elephants are trained in. And a lot of elephants, specifically circus elephants, have a lot of trauma and abuse in their lives. So, and thousands of elephant calves have been brought to the United States since the 1700s when they started being brought here for circuses and show business. 28 of those elephants have had the opportunity to come to sanctuary. And so we are very excited that the fact that we've had a lot of elephants that have been able to live their lives at sanctuary at some point in their lives. But we would always love to have more. So it's a great opportunity. 9 of those elephants still live here at sanctuary in about 3,000 acres. So we talked about those 3,000 acres. It is separated into different habitats that really are going to be making sure that those elephants have all of their needs met. So whether it's their health concerns, their species appropriate concerns, we want to make sure all of their needs are met as individuals. Something we do for that is that individualized care for life. So we work in protected contact and positive reinforcement at the Elephant Sanctuary. So let's talk about those 2 ideas. The first one of those is protected contact. What that means is that we never share space with an elephant. There's always a barrier in between the human and the elephant. There's a couple reasons for that. The first reason is for our safety. One of our elephants, she weighs more than 10,000 pounds. So for our safety, we're going to keep a barrier in between us and those elephants. The second part of that is to give the elephants an opportunity for freedom of choice. And what that means is that if Sukari, who you see in this picture, decides she is done, she doesn't want to interact with us anymore, she's done with training. Sometimes elephants get frustrated. They can walk away. They can walk away without fear of punishment. They can walk away without worrying about what is going to happen to them because they know that they can come back later and do this training. But they have that freedom of choice. The other part of that is positive reinforcement. So elephants are a very food-motivated animal. Being a food-motivated animal, they are going to love to do things for snacks. So when they are interacting with us, when they're training with us, what they will do is they will actually present their feet. They'll present their ears, and we can do medical checks on them to make sure that they're healthy. And during that time, they get bonus snacks. That's a great way to get the elephants to interact with us, is they get some snacks. So in each one of these pictures, you'll see that protected contact wall, but you'll also see that big bucket on the hip of the person working with that elephant. That bucket is going to be filled with some of those elephants' favorite treats. So Ronnie, her favorite food is cantaloupe. So when she's doing something really, really scary, like presenting her ears for a blood draw, she's going to be really good about doing that if she's going to have her favorite snacks. So elephants are going to be really good about interacting with us and training with us as long as they have that freedom of choice and that positive reinforcement. I'm going to introduce you to the 9 elephants that live here. I know somebody in the chat said, how many elephants live at the elephant sanctuary? Well, here at the elephant sanctuary, we have 9 elephants, starting with Debbie. Debbie is an Asian elephant, and we know that because of those ears with the fold, and she doesn't have tusks. She's 51 years old, and one of my favorite things about Debbie is how I identify her. So all of the elephants flap their ears to cool themselves down, but Debbie, she actually flaps her ears one at a time. So if you ever are looking at our live elephant cameras and you're looking and you see an elephant flapping their ears one back and forth, that is Debbie. She also is a queen of naps. So a lot of the time, if an elephant is out in habitat and you see our caption that says that Debbie's napping, it's most certainly her because she is a napping queen. Then we have Ronnie. Ronnie is a social butterfly. For any of you social butterflies out in the audience that you had to have your seats moved and you had to sit next to the teacher in class because you were just a little chatterbug, it's kind of how Ronnie is. She is a social butterfly. She's almost always with another elephant. So if you see 2 elephants together, one of them is almost always Ronnie. Then we have Minnie. And Minnie is our heaviest elephant at the elephant sanctuary. She weighs approximately 11,000 pounds. So she's about the same size as a school bus. So she's a pretty big elephant. But my favorite thing about Ronnie is that she always looks like she's ready to take Minnie is that she always looks like she's ready to take a nap. While Debbie is the napping queen, Minnie has these big puffy eyes that looks like she's been rubbing them and that she is just ready to go to sleep. And it's so cute. And then we have Billy. And Billy is our oldest elephant at the elephant sanctuary. Somebody just asked that in the chat. So perfect timing. Somebody also asked, how old do elephants get? So on average, elephants are between about 45 and 50 in human care. But like Billy here, she's well past that. And if you've been paying attention to the elephant ages, a lot of them are well past that. Our oldest elephant we ever had here at Sanctuary, her name was Shirley. And she passed away about a year ago. And at that time, she was 73 years old. And that was the second oldest elephant in North America. So elephants can live well past that average age, but that average age is a good kind of middle point. Then we have Sissy, and I personally love to compare Sissy to a superhero, not because she shoots spiderwebs out of her trunk, even though that would be super cool, but Sissy here actually survived a flood. She lived in a zoo in Texas in the 80s, and it rained, and she actually got stuck in her exhibit and completely submerged underwater. And the only way Sissy survived was by holding her trunk up above the water for more than 24 hours. Elephants use those trunks to breathe. So she held that trunk up kind of like a snorkel for a long day, and she survived. So I think that's pretty heroic, and I consider Sissy a superhero. Then we have Nosy. So those were our 5 Asian elephants, and these are going to be our 4 African elephants. And Nosy here, she actually came to the sanctuary with a skin condition. So her skin needed a lot of health checks. So she would get medicated baths that would help her skin. She also had these really long sticks that we used to like scratch her back because they had brushes at the back, just so she could do that. Over the last few years, as she's been here at Sanctuary, we've started seeing Nosy kind of having a lot more self-care. When I call it self-care, what that means is that we've witnessed her actually start going into the ponds and swimming on her own, which is helping us so we don't have to give her as many medicated baths. But also, she's starting to scratch her back on trees and just starting to do things that we are witnessing. And she is becoming a really amazing elephant to witness, just growing and learning how to be an elephant here at Sanctuary. Then we have Flora, and I won't talk too much about Flora because we've talked to her a lot, but I always love to tell people she's actually the elephant I identify at Sanctuary the easiest. The reason it's pretty easy to see her is because she's an African elephant. She's got those big round ears, and she has tusks, but those tusks are really short. Just like people in the heights, some people are tall, some people are short. Some elephants have longer tusks than others. She just naturally has shorter tusks than the shortest tusks of any of the elephants we have that live here at Sanctuary. Then we have Sukari. Sukari, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I think she's amazing. She is one of my favorite elephants here at Sanctuary. And the reason I like Sukari so much is because she has a really special name. Her name is a word in Swahili. And Swahili is a language spoken in parts of Africa, including Tanzania and Kenya. And in Swahili, her name means sugar, sweet as sugar. And I think that is a pretty perfect name because she's just a very sweet elephant. And then last but not least, we have Tangy. Tangy just celebrated her 49th birthday with us last week. And this is actually where I tell you, since Tangy is our last elephant, that we only have girl elephants here at the Elephant Sanctuary. We have no boy elephants. Now, I know a lot of you have had question about baby elephants, but we do not have baby elephants. All of ours are adults. They are all adult female elephants. So we don't have too many of those elephant babies or elephant calves to talk about. Tangy here is also going to be a really silly elephant. She loves to be smelly and stinky and covered in dirt, which is pretty amazing. So now that we've talked about the elephants, a couple more slides and then I'll start going through those questions, is talking about what problems elephants face, because elephants are in a crisis. Asian elephants are an endangered species. There is between 30 and 40,000 Asian elephants left in the world, and their numbers are in decline. And African savanna elephants are also an endangered species, while the African forest elephant is a critically endangered species. For both of the African elephants, there's between about 300 and 500,000 elephants, 300,000 and 500,000 African elephants, both species in Africa. Now, what problems do they face? Well, the first one is ivory. And I've seen actually quite a few questions about ivory and the poaching in the chat. So let's talk about those. Elephants' tusks have this stuff on the outside of them, which is called ivory. And historically, it was used to create little trinkets and different things like that. But unfortunately, an elephant does have to be poached and killed for them to get those tusks and that ivory off that elephant. So we are very much in the world that we try not to use that. Actually, it's one of those products that you shouldn't have. So if you guys want to do something and you guys are out there and you're wanting to do something to help elephants, something you could do is not purchase ivory, because it is something that belongs to an elephant and not to a human. Another reason why elephants are in critical danger is because they are used for tourism. So elephants in show business and in the world are used for rides. But remember, when elephants are trained to do things like that, they are being used in negative reinforcement and dominance. So we do not encourage that behavior either, because that is part of the decline of elephants. And finally, there's human-elephant conflict. Now, these are not all of the problems elephants face. These are just a few of them we talk about here at Sanctuary. But human-elephant conflict is going to be the fact that human populations are growing. And so we need more space, which is then encroaching on elephant space. And it becomes a problem between people that live near those elephants and those elephants. So what are we doing? Something we do is that we have a very large international outreach. We are trying to create a world where those people, we are helping elephants both in human care and in the wild. If you guys are interested in any of our outreach, I recommend going to our website, www.elephants.com, and looking at our international outreach. You can see some of the organizations we help support in conservation for elephants. We also have a commitment to sustainability. So we are trying to really hard be as sustainable as possible to help the world and help conservation, even in our own backyard here in Hohenwald, Tennessee. We are accountable. We belong to GFAS, which is the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, as well as AZA, which is the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. So what can you guys do? You can follow us. So you guys can keep up with all of our elephants here at the Elephant Sanctuary on any of our social medias you see here. Now, what I'm going to do, you guys also take action. I apologize, I didn't see this slide, but you guys can do things that are going to help elephants. Something, do not buy or trade in ivory, but also make sure when you're visiting facilities, you're going to GFAS or AZA facilities because they have the most care for those elephants and the highest standard of care for those elephants. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take off my screen, and I'm actually going to change to my live elephant cameras. Now, I am going to be 100% honest with you guys. I have not seen an elephant on any of the live cameras today because it's been a pretty cold morning. We actually got some flurries. I know you guys are up in colder places, so you guys probably got some snow too. But while I'm looking at these cameras, we can also answer questions. So let me pull these cameras up, and I have found an elephant for you guys. Here we go. So in this picture, you are probably seeing Ronnie, and it looks like Debbie. And these two elephants are hanging out. I'm going to go to those chat and those questions now. So if I don't get to your question, I apologize. I'm going to try to answer as many as possible while we watch the elephants. So why are elephants poached and why are they so valuable? Ben, I think I addressed that one because of those tusks in elephants and that ivory that can be taken from those elephants makes them very valuable in that. And I am going to actually take back something I said. I didn't see it very properly. This is actually Ronnie in the front and Minnie in the back. So Minnie is the heaviest elephant we have at the sanctuary. She is about 11,000 pounds. Is it hard to find an elephant? Here at the sanctuary, it definitely is because we have 3,000 acres for them to roam and explore and be elephants. Oh, I love this question. Somebody said, elephants packs form a family. Can a new member be introduced to the family and do well? It really depends on the elephant and their personality and what they have, their story, really. Because sometimes elephants are really welcoming. Sometimes they kind of already have their social structure created. So that is very dependent on the elephants and everything. And their individual personalities. So I think that is kind of the best way to put that one. 3,000 acres for 9 elephants. Yes, I know. I'm going to try to do something real quick and we'll come back to these elephants. Somebody said, is this live? Yeah. So this is 10:30 in the morning here in Hohenwald, Tennessee. And I just want to show you guys how big the sanctuary is. This is just one of the habitats. So you guys can see all of the space that they have to roam and explore and just be elephants, which is pretty incredible because a lot of these elephants did come from circuses and show business. So we want to give them the chance to just be elephants. How are elephants introduced to the herd when they arrive? A very, very slow process. So some of our elephants are currently being introduced to one another. Nosy is currently being introduced to Sissy. It is a very slow process that we are letting them smell each other through far distances, and then we slowly let them get closer and closer. Currently, Nosy and Sissy are being introduced through a fence line. And if you go to our YouTube channel, you can actually see that they actually had a Valentine's Day celebration or a Galentine's Day celebration last week. So they were interacting with one another through a fence. So I love that question. Has any consideration been given to breeding the elephants to add to the overall world population and give their herd their normal function/activity? This is a great question. And I will get to as many questions as I've got a half hour, y'all. So we are definitely have time to answer questions. So don't worry, I will get to them. But let's answer this one. So at the Elephant Sanctuary, we are a true elephant sanctuary. And what that means is that we do not participate in breeding. Elephants in the world, definitely their populations in the wild need to be going up. But with that being said, they should be born in the wild. So we should be doing our best to help them in their native habitat. Breeding elephants into human care is not what we do as a sanctuary, because those elephants will be raised by people and not by elephants then. And so that wouldn't be helpful and conducive to the elephant population of the world. Okay, so I'm going to come to this chat and then I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. Okay, friends, like I said, I might not get to all of them, but I definitely would love to get to a lot of them. Somebody asked, who's the youngest elephant at Sanctuary? And that is Sukari. Sukari is 37. So when we talk about how we don't have elephant calves, part of that is that all of our elephants are adult females, so we do not have to worry about that. Who's the oldest elephant? Billy is our oldest at 60. So our elephants vary in age between 37 and 60. So very, very wide age weight range here. How much do they weigh? So our elephants here at Sanctuary weigh anywhere between about 8,000 pounds and 11,000 pounds. It's all based off the individual animal, their height. So we actually check them out and make sure that they're healthy on a normal basis for weight and everything like that. So we can keep an eye on that. Can they have babies in the sanctuary? No, we only have females, so we do not have any baby elephants. There's been a lot of elephant questions. So an elephant baby is born and they are about 250 pounds, sometimes a little bit more. And there is usually only one. So if you have seen on the news, if you've looked up elephants in a while, there was a set of twins born in Kenya and it was a big deal. And so twins are very abnormal. They usually have one elephant. And for any of you adults out there or anybody interested, the gestation or how long an elephant is pregnant is about 22 to 24 months, which is about 2 years, which most of the adults are always like, that is way too long. So they also have very big babies in comparison. How do we help elephants? So some way we help elephants is by making sure we are supporting elephants in their wilds. We're supporting elephants and the organizations that are helping elephant conservation, but we're also not purchasing ivory. We are making sure that we are aware of their environment and we are not taking from their environment because of that human-animal conflict. If we're traveling, we could always try not to ride an elephant because an elephant really shouldn't have people riding it. These are things we can do for these elephants. Can you ever have an elephant for a pet? Kelsey, this is a great question. So I'm going to say no, probably not a good idea. So elephants are a herd animal, which means that they spend a lot of time with other elephants. So in order to have an elephant, you should probably have more than one. Okay, that is 2 10,000-pound animals that you have to feed. An elephant is a herbivore, and a herbivore is an animal that eats plants and lots of plants. So they eat between about 200 and 300 pounds of food every single day. So that is a lot of food for these elephants to eat. So for that reason, I would not recommend an elephant for a pet. It's better if they are with other elephants in herds at sanctuaries and zoos where they can spend their lives with other elephants. I'm trying to make sure I'm getting all your answers. How old can they get? Between 45 and 50 is average. Okay, I'm going to go back to the Q&A. I keep going back and forth between the two. What is the amount of ivory does the one elephant with the biggest tusks have? I do not know that answer, Ben. I wish I did, but I just don't have a good answer for it because really our elephants, they will never have their tusks taken. They get to just live their lives without having to worry about that too. Okay, so elephants are eating leaves. So does that affect their diet during the winter time? And overall, technically, yeah, it could. So here at the sanctuary, because we have a lot of trees that lose their leaves in the winter time, they don't have as much that they can find in that time. So we supplement a large part of that diet here in Tennessee when it's winter time. So they get a lot more from us. So they get hay and grains and a food called Missouri, which is an exotic animal feed for them to be able to eat and get all the calories that they would naturally be getting. In their natural habitat, they don't have as much of winters in parts of where they live. So they're going to migrate to where the food is in the times if their food is less. So not so much. What is the largest number of elephants you can accommodate at the sanctuary? That is a great question. So we have the facilities for more than 20 elephants at the moment. We currently have 9. So if elephants do need a home, we can definitely provide that home for them. How much does the average elephant weigh? Well, Jennifer, I really don't have a great answer because it's really based off of an elephant. But here at the sanctuary, they're between about 8 and 10 is average for our elephants. So that's not too much, but a male African elephant in the wild can get upwards to 16,000 pounds. So much bigger than even our elephants here at the sanctuary. Oh, this is a great question. I've gotten a couple of these, so let's answer this one. Can they run? How fast do they run? These are all really great questions. And elephants actually don't have the ability to run. So elephants are one of the only animals in the world that can't jump. So the fact that they can't jump means that they can't run as we think of running, because when we run, our entire body is getting off the ground. So elephants, when they are going really fast, they're not technically running, but what they're doing is kind of doing speed walk. When they're speed walking, they can go about 25 miles per hour, but only for a very, very short distance because they have a lot of weight on them. So they really don't have, they don't go too far with that speed, but they can kind of scare off predators in the wild and things like that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the chat. I'm just going back and forth, friends. I'm so glad you guys are asking so many really great questions. Ooh, somebody said, do they have hair? And yes. So Asian elephants are actually pretty hairy. I'm going to see if I can get a little closer to Minnie, because she's probably our hairiest elephant, and she looks like it. She's eating now. You can't really tell, but if you look at the top of her head, she's lots of extra hair on her. So yes, they have hair on them. They are mammals. And if you look, they actually have hair on their tails too. So they are mammals. They have hair. Somebody said, do elephants eat meat? No, they are definitely herbivores. Oh, I love this. Kaden said, are there any mom elephants? And technically, yes. So Ronnie, that we see right here at the bottom of our screen, she had a calf before she came to sanctuary. So while they're not having elephant calves here, she did have one when she was still in the circuses. He actually lives in another sanctuary. His name is Nicholas, and he lives at PAWS, which is the Performing Animal Welfare Society. And that is the only other true elephant sanctuary in the United States. These are great. You guys are giving me some really great questions. Thank you so much for your patience as I go through these. Ooh, okay, let's talk about this. This one is, how can you tell if an elephant is unhappy? So it's really hard for us as a sanctuary to tell you if an elephant is happy or if they're sad or any of these things, because really we are not able to read their minds. An elephant can't tell me that they're unhappy. They can't tell me that they're angry. But what they do is we look at behaviors. So I like to always talk about happiness because happiness is a great one for us to talk about. So if an elephant is happy, they're usually content. So what contentment means is that you're seeing them participating in training very easily. If they are content, they are going to be taking naps. But when they're taking naps, they're going to be laying down for those naps, which is something that they don't always do in the wild. But if they're comfortable, they have no problem going to a hillside and laying down. So we watch their behaviors to see how they are feeling and how they are, what they're trying to think without actually knowing for sure. That was a great question. We're getting a lot of the same questions, so I'm just going through and making sure I'm answering as many of these as possible. Somebody said, what is Flora's favorite food? Now, some of the elephants, I am very good at knowing what their favorite foods are, but some of them I forget because there is 9 elephants that live here at Sanctuary. But Flora, her favorite food is watermelon. So she loves watermelon, which is pretty fun. But all the elephants have different favorite foods that they enjoy. So just like all of you don't have the same favorite food, neither do the elephants. Do all the elephants come in gray? That's a great question. And the answer is no. So elephants' colorations can vary significantly. Some of them can be gray, some of them can be more brown, and really they can be every color in between. Can elephants be mean? Yeah, any animal can technically be mean, but we always want to make sure we're doing our best for those elephants, which includes working with them through that protected contact so that they don't have the opportunity to be mean because we give them that freedom of choice. Oh, Grayson, this is a great question. Why do they have 2 bumps on their head? So if you looked when we were zooming in on Minnie, she's got these bumps on her head. We actually call that a 2-domed head. It kind of just looks like the big bumps on their head. Oop, my camera's being funny. I'm sorry, guys. But it's 2-domed. African elephants actually don't have that because that is one of the differences in the species. So remember, they're different species. So they look different. They act slightly different. And so for that reason, and there's of course no African elephants out. I'm so sorry, friends. But that is one of the differences in the species is their head shape. So if you go to these elephant cameras later, or if you come to or if you're looking at the elephants online, you'll see those 2-domed heads. Those are the Asian elephants, while the African elephants only have a single dome. What is the goal of the elephant sanctuary? So for us, the goal is to provide elephants in captivity a home through the rest of their lives, meeting all of their needs and making sure that they are thriving, while also supporting and educating about people in the world. Everybody's curious about Flora. I love this because we talked about her a lot. Somebody said, what is Minnie's favorite food? I believe Minnie really enjoys hay. Ronnie here on the bottom, she really loves cantaloupe. Can twins hurt the mom? I don't know enough about twin elephant births, so I can't give you very good answers on that. I'm so sorry. You guys are asking some really great questions. Let me get to a couple more. Which elephant is my favorite? So I have 2 favorite elephants. One of them is Ronnie, who's on the bottom of our screen. She's a really silly elephant. She loves to play in the mud, and so it's been fun to see her. The other one is Sukari. And Sukari actually lived at the Nashville Zoo before coming to the sanctuary. Okay, I'm going to go back to the Q&A because I'm getting a lot of the same questions. So I'm just making sure we have enough time to get to all of them. Was there a reason why you chose Tennessee for the location? I love this. So our founders had an elephant that they were trying to find a place for. They realized she wasn't happy in circuses and show business anymore. So they had her temporarily held at the Nashville Zoo. And somebody said, have you guys looked down in Lewis County? There's some land down there. And they found about 150 acres here in Lewis County. We have a pretty mild winter. So we only get a couple snows in a year, and we have heated barns for them that they and we can actually zoom out and see a little bit of this barn. These barns are a great opportunity for our elephants to stay warm and cozy, and they have comfy floors. And when I say comfy floors, it's like kind of squishy. That helps their bodies. So yeah. What happens if you cannot take an elephant? So there are 2 elephant sanctuaries in the United States. I don't foresee us not being able to take an elephant in the next little while. So if one does need a home, that's great. But if we can't, there's also another elephant sanctuary in California called PAWS, or the Performing Animal Welfare Society. So they could potentially go there. I don't know. That's a great question to ask, though. Let's go down a little farther. Do elephants eat grass? Yes, they do. They love grass. That's one of their favorites. Thank you guys for being patient. I'm just going through all of these questions to make sure we have a lot. How many people does it take to manage all the elephants? This is a great one. So here at the Elephant Sanctuary, we have about 50 employees, but that does not just count the care staff and the ones that are actively there, but we have an education team, which is what I'm on. We also have a maintenance team, and they're the ones responsible for all these fences you see and taking care of the place and making sure it's running well. We also have a donor team. So we are something called a nonprofit organization. And with that, that means that we actually pay for this place through donations and people just wanting to help and take care of elephants. And then we have our vet team. So we have a full-time vet and a vet tech that are here on a daily basis to make sure that the elephants are well taken care of. We also are going to have those caregivers. So about a third to a half of our staff are the ones that are actively working with the elephants to make sure that they are doing well. That was an awesome question. I am so impressed with everybody's questions. So thank you guys so much for asking them. And I have about 10 more minutes to answer more. If I don't get to them, I apologize, guys. There's been a lot of questions. So thank you for being patient with me. Do you want to make more homes? We want to give as many elephants as we have the opportunity to homes. So that is the opportunity we have, is to make sure that we are meeting the needs of elephants. So if there is an elephant that needs a home, our arms are wide open. It's not our job, it's not our business to go out there and take people's elephants, but to give them that home if they do need it. Why are their tails so short? So elephants, their tails really aren't there for much. So with monkeys and certain big cats, they use their tails to help them balance. But elephants, they're not going to need to balance, so they don't really have a problem with that. So their tails are really there just to like swat away flies and things like that. So their tails are short because they really don't need to do much. Let's go back to the chat. Has an elephant ever escaped? No. So we have these fences, and these fences are designed to make sure that the elephants are staying where they're supposed to be. These fences are about 8 feet tall, and they are going to be about 10 feet into the ground and cemented into that ground. So they are there and they're durable and able to hold those elephants in. So we don't have too many problems with that. Do they fight? So elephants do something. They are very playful with one another. They are like sisters with one another. So if we ever see elephants like sparring, which is going to be African elephants like pushing on each other, most of the time those sparrings is just them kind of being obnoxious siblings. For any of you that have sisters or brothers that you guys kind of annoy, or that they annoy you, kind of how it is with our elephants. They have those sisters that they didn't know they had, that they got once they got to sanctuary. Somebody asked, what did I study in school? I love answering this question for both myself and the caregivers. So for any of you that are looking at a career in animals and in the animal world, let's talk about what it takes. So I am personally in education. So in education, I have a master's degree in teaching biological sciences, but my background is in zoos and conservation education. I love talking about animals. I love teaching about animals. So I have just kind of fallen into this world of sanctuary, and I love it. I love talking about elephants every day and getting to know our elephants. To be an animal caregiver, what that takes is it's going to take time for you to get experience with animals. So you get a college degree in something like animal science or animal in management or even psychology. So for that reason, if you get a degree like that and you start getting experience with internships at zoos and with animals, a lot of zoos have internships for college level kids so that you can get experience working with and around animals. And so that's a great opportunity if any of you are interested. If you're also interested, you're more than welcome to email me here at the Elephant Sanctuary, and I'd love to answer any more questions for you in that way. No, they don't escape. We already answered that. Do male elephants fight in their herds? Sometimes, but really that's going to be about dominance. So what that is there's a hierarchy in elephants. And so the bigger, the stronger male elephants are going to kind of make sure that the elephants underneath them or younger than them know they're the boss. So it's not going to be too bad, but you will see that in the wild sometimes. Obviously, we don't have that same situation here. Somebody said, can they jump? And the answer is no. Elephants cannot jump. They are one of the few animals that don't. Why do elephants get abused in circuses? So elephants, in the past, we actually didn't know a lot about elephants. And so we didn't treat them always the best. And we always just thought it was the best way to take care of them through negative reinforcement and through dominance, because we want them to do what we want them to do. Well, elephants, they are very smart animals and they think about things very differently than other animals. So we want to make sure that they aren't abused, which is why we are doing what we can here at the Elephant Sanctuary. I'm trying to find Ronnie. She just like ran away. But we want to make sure that we are giving them the opportunity that they are never in a situation where they are abused again, which is why they are here at Elephant Sanctuary. Oh, here she is. She is walking around over here. I apologize about showing the fence, but can they climb? Not really. They can kind of climb over some things in the wild, but they're not going to climb over those fences because those fences are really high. Have any of the elephants gotten sick, and how can you tell they are sick, and what do you do for them? So we have vets here on property, so we are constantly checking those elephants and their health. So they get blood draws to make sure that they're healthy. They also are going to have vet checks twice a week. This makes it so that if they are sick, that they don't have too many, we are keeping an eye on that. Things we'll see is like a lack of a diet. We will see sometimes snot, things like that. So we have had elephants sick here. Most of the time they come when they are sick, and so a lot of our elephants came here and they already had pre-existing conditions or sicknesses that they had. So we have to always just keep an eye on that. So that's why our vets are super important, is because we are making sure that they are healthy at all times instead of making them healthy after they get sick. We want to make sure we don't let them get sick. I hope that makes sense. Oh, are the different area of the sanctuary rotated so that the grasses can grow in one area? No, that's such a cool question. I've never been asked that, so I'm very impressed. So the elephants at the Elephant Sanctuary have these kind of bedrooms in their different habitats. So this is the Q habitat. And if you notice, we have fences throughout it. It's kind of like bedrooms. So if any of the elephants aren't getting along or anything like that, we can separate them just so that nobody kind of annoys the other ones, just like sisters and brothers. Some of you guys have probably been put in your separate rooms once or twice. Oh, this is a great question and probably one of my last ones, but do they like peanuts? The answer is, I don't think so. None of our elephants go too crazy for peanuts, even though everybody thinks elephants love peanuts. But really, they don't go crazy for peanuts, but they love peanut butter. So we actually go through more than 2,000 pounds of peanut butter every single year. So we go through a whole lot of peanut butter for these elephants. Okay, I'm going to go one or two more questions if that's okay with the class that I am working with, and Isabella and them. So somebody said, are they smarter than people? And that's a really hard question to answer because, once again, we don't know what elephants are thinking. So with that being said, we know that they don't do math problems. They aren't going to say what 7 plus 7 is, but they can figure out really complicated puzzles. They also are one of the few animals in the world that mourn or grieve. And because they mourn and grieve, we know that because we see certain behaviors out of them. And those certain behaviors are going to be showing that they're mourning and grieving, which is a sign of an intelligent animal. The last reason, there's a lot more, but the last reason we're talking about why we know elephants are intelligent is because they actually are going to be able to recognize themselves in a mirror. This being able to cognitively understand that that's them in a mirror. A lot of animals can't do that. So that also is a reason why we know that they are very intelligent. Okay, friends, that is about the time I have. Is there anything that Ms. McMullen's class needs from me as we are finishing up today? I want to thank everybody so much for joining me, and thank you for joining the National Biotechnology Teach-In, because these kids have been great to work with, and I've been super excited to be able to hang out with everybody today. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much.
Oh wait, they're doing the outro.
All right. Thank you for coming.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.